Caffè Lena, located in downtown Saratoga Springs, New York, has been providing extraordinary music in an intimate setting since 1960. The Grammy Foundation recognized the venue for its contributions to the development of American music and till this day keeps folk music rooted at its heart. From artists like Bob Dylan to the thriving national acts and all local musicians in between, Caffè Lena has continued to allow people to create magical memories in their listening room. They have spent their recent years coming up with new initiatives and programs to keep music pushing forward. This year they are celebrating their 65th anniversary since they opened their doors, so we decided to catch up with Executive Director Sarah Craig to reflect on the venue's history.
I'm not sure how we got to be the longest running coffee house in the United States, because nobody could have looked at the situation and predicted that back in 1960, 1965. Why would Caffè Lena in Saratoga Springs, New York, this kind of small city upstate, not known particularly for music, why would it hang on here? And I think that Lena was as mystified about that as I am. And there's something a little bit about Saratoga, I have to say, that people who live here really love this town, really love that it's unique and a little different, and they want to preserve the institutions that are its signature institutions. They care about the spring water and Caffè Lena and SPAC and the architecture. They really care about that stuff because it's what makes Saratoga Saratoga. So I think that that's a big part of our survival. And the other thing is just that we have always been here to serve. It was never about one person coming barging in and saying, I have a vision of what you need. It's always been about reading the room and figuring out what it's time to do, and to be here treating everybody like a friend and a neighbor who walks through the door, because we're here for you. And I think that people pick up on that there's a certain generosity of spirit that Lena just baked into this place that we've been able to carry on. 2025 is going to mark the cafe's 65th anniversary. Lena and Bill, when they opened the place in 1960, thought that they would just run it for a couple of years and take the vast amounts of money that they were going to earn doing it and retire to Europe and just be bohemian artists on the continent. It didn't work out that way. And here we are today. Why? Because I think it's the momentum of a community doing something positive together. And so it becomes the music, the friendships, the memories, the belief that what happens here in these four walls has value for the wider world. It's weird, but I feel like wherever I go in the world, there's somebody who knows about Caffè Lena and has a story. And it might date back decades, or it might be, more recent. I love the way the music world works, and that we are a part of it, and that it does create this web of connection. The songs, the artistry, the venues, the big tours, everything creates this whole global subculture. And to be part of that is just really awesome. And to be kind of an esteemed part of that is amazing. It makes the world seem smaller in a way. Back in the early days, there are all these names, and for decades, I think people just kept using the same names to try and establish how amazing this place is. And obviously it starts with Bob Dylan. So he came from Minnesota to the Greenwich Village folk scene and was kind of under the wing of Dave Van Ronk, who was one of the core performers at Caffè Lena. So Dave and his wife are the ones who convinced Lena to book Dylan here. And he did a couple of weekends in the early 60s, and then kept in touch with Lena over the years, which was really nice. And when Arlo Guthrie decided to follow in his father's footsteps and become a musician, this was one of the first places he came. He was just a teenager at the time, and he got good advice from Lena. And Don McLean, who was down in the Hudson Valley and was a folk singer, was starting to become more and more of a singer-songwriter, loved Lena. And when he got his Grammy around American Pie. He took her to the Grammys with him and as his special guest. So there was, that kind of golden age that I think is so much a part of the heart and soul of the place and something we're really proud of. But, it didn't stop there. Then there was the era of Ani DeFranco coming and playing some of her early shows. And then there's the era of Billy Strings coming and playing some of his early shows. And, Anais Mitchell played here a ton when she was developing all the songs for Hadestown. It just keeps coming. And, there's this idea that you're always looking for the next Dylan or the next Billy Strings or something. No, I'm looking for the next show that's just gonna shine in this space where the artist is at in their career right then. If they go on to MVP, if they go on to, arenas and SPAC and all of that, that's great. And I'm so glad that we provided a touchstone in their story. But I'm not looking to bring in people because I'm gambling that they're gonna someday be famous. What matters is what happens in this room tonight. We've started a lot of new projects in the last 6 or 7 years, basically since we completed this big renovation. We've been able to expand our impact. And every one of the things that we're doing seems to be the right thing to do. And we have this vision of where it could go. And so we have Sing in the Streets Festival that happens on the Cafe's anniversary weekend. It's going to be on our 65th anniversary weekend in May this year. Wow, and then we think, Mile of Music, where could this go, It could be much bigger. Or Caffè Lena at SPAC, the audience was at least twice as big this year as it was last year. So we have a lot of different initiatives, but it all comes down to the essence of folk music, which is people making music together. And so it's not about a grand star on stage. It's not just about the presentation of a professional. It's about that relationship between what's on stage and the people in the audience. When you have volunteers and you have members, you are relinquishing control. You are spreading control over hundreds and hundreds of people, and thereby creating a huge safety net for the organization so that it's no longer about any one person, it's about a community doing it together. And so not only do our members and volunteers provide essential resources for creating the incredibly expansive programming that we do now, they provide the financial resources, the elbow grease, everything, but they also just are part of anchoring this place in a real living, breathing community. And so, if I'm run over by a bus, there are people to pick it up and carry it forward. And the place has always had that. It's always attracted people. Back in Lena's day, she let people crash here for weeks at a time. There were people sleeping in the back room and helping her out and, doing her grocery shopping and living at her apartment and whatever. It's always been that kind of place. Lena is being honored and memorialized here every night, and at the same time, we have taken the seeds of what she created and brought it forward. And I hope that she would just love that this place is still the center of a vibrant community and continuing to put great music out into the world.